So when you start your photo editing journey, there are a few common mistakes that, let's face it, all of us have made and some of us still make to this day. Now you can pull some of these down to creative decisions when you see other people use them, and that actually might be the thing they're going for. See an overly contrasted look, maybe they're actually going for that. But a mistake really happens when it's not intentional and you may not be aware of actually what these sliders are doing to your images. And a lot of the time what ends up happening is this worsens your composition. And I'm not on about composition here of like rule of thirds of layout of what you've got in your image. I'm on about composition of story, colors, the contrast, textures, all of these things that go into the image. That by doing these things, you can sometimes end up introducing distractions into your image, which make it less pleasing to view. Now, as I mentioned, some of the things I say today may actually be intentional decisions, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you're trying to achieve from your image. It might be an over-edited style. Perhaps you need to break these rules and go outside the box and try some different things. And again, that's absolutely fine and the fun of photography. When it starts interfering with how you want your image to come across to viewers, that's when we might be able to view it as a mistake. So don't take it to heart. We all do it. And as I said, I still do it today. First one, and the fun one we can start with then, is clarity, or just in general, the presence tools that we have here. It's so fun when you first open up Lightroom and you discover the clarity tool and you just pull it up slightly and you think, this looks amazing. It's a big difference to my photo. But you can get carried away and go to 100% and suddenly you have something that is way too detailed and over contrasted. But even in a situation of a photo like this, you can go to the left, and it's not something a lot of beginners do because they feel like it's taken away from the image. Now the thing is, when you've got forest edit photos like this, so if I zoom in, we have a lot of detail going on here in the shrubbery side. In the rocks, there's also a lot of detail. So this is kind of an odd one, whereas if I raise my clarity with my rocks, it looks quite good. And it looks like it sharpens it up nicely there. Whereas if I raise it with my leaves, actually brings in far too much detail and starts to become distracting. Whereas if I go the other way, I get a bit more of a softer approach to my leaves there. So actually, for landscape photos, reducing the clarity can sometimes be a better shout than trying to increase it. But you might be thinking, well, what if I want my clarity to be higher on these rocks? Well, that's where your masking can come in. Remember, those are global edits. You can always take a brush, increase shadows, increase the clarity to really enhance the subjects, and we can zoom back in on some of these rocks and brush over them, and you can see that I can introduce clarity back into parts of the image that I might want to, but avoiding the shrubbery and other areas. So it's not a bad idea if you're doing this in landscape photography to decrease our clarity, to then go back in with a brush and bring it in the areas that matter, which is largely going to be your architectural subjects or people's subjects, the thing you want to bring out the most. But for our shrubbery and leaves, it becomes less distracting. So this way we get the perfect balance of a nice dreamy glow in some of our landscapes and that sharpness and enhanced look in others. Number two then is a color palette. Now, when you're coming into the color mixer area, there is so many choices that you can make with this, so many sliders that you can move. But if you just start sliding them around without a vision in mind or a purpose, you can very quickly become lost and again end up with distractions in your composition. One distraction can be having too many colors, and having too many colors from various aspects of the color wheel that don't actually harmonize with each other as well. In the case of this image here, it may look like just a straightforward landscape shot, but if I grab my hue slider pointer from here and I click somewhere and I pull up and down, you can see that we get usually more than one channel working with this. Now this is great to help you consolidate some of the colors. So as I reset these from here, take that off, my green channel in particular is quite distracting to me here, in that it's just feeding in with some of the orange. So by moving this over to the yellow side and that orange is over and actually desaturating down the colors, I'm choosing a color palette. For this image, I would want to go for more of an orange vibe and potentially some blues in the top. So my color palette becomes an orange with a secondary color of blue, which works nicely because when we look at the color wheel, these are complementary colors then. And my reasoning for choosing some oranges here and not just pulling up the greens and saturating all these different colors is because it is a volcanic landscape. So check out if we take this edit here where you can see we've got that burnt out feeling, and we look at a before and after, you can see all of those greens mixing with yellows, and it's just not emulating that vibe that I want from here. So I've gone ahead to make a decision to have a color palette of orange, which means pushing those greens down, pushing that yellow all the way across here, and making sure that I'm saturating my oranges up and doing everything possible to achieve the color palette that I see in my head. There's not much blue going on in this image, but there could be hints of blue in the sky, especially if it was less cloudy. So tip number 2 there then is going with a color palette in mind. And if you're unsure of what color palette to go with, look at what are the dominant colors in your image, or what sort of story are you trying to tell, and that can quite often influence what colors you're going to have. Have the color wheel open up next to you as well, and this again can influence certain colors that you might use. Come down to the color grading and you will see these color wheels here, and this can help you with some of those decisions. But removing distracting colors from your composition will help it to look more pleasing to the eye. The third one then is contrast, and it's very tempting when you come in, because it's right at the top here, is to grab that contrast slider and just pull it up and think that's applying contrast, same way we might do on a phone when editing. But you can achieve much better controlled results if you use the tone curve instead to create the contrast. Best place to start with then is your S curve, where it does a similar thing, where you can bring in and darken down those shadows and bring up those highlights, and that gives you a very similar result to using the contrast slider up at the top here. But we can go any way we want with this to control the light in our image a bit more. See how I bring these mid-tones down, and I could go even further, and I can put as many control points as possible in here, but it gives me full control over the different aspects. So you'll see as I move this point up and down, look at the histogram at the top, see how it affects the bottom side of that, so the left side there. Whereas if I go up now and I bring the contrast, see how it affects the entire histogram and pushes the information to the left and the right in the image. So the tone curve does the similar thing, it pushes the image to the left and the right in the histogram, but it gives us far more control, which is great, because if you've got images that are overexposed or underexposed, tone curve can help to either bring in or remove some of that light and give some contrast. For a bonus one then, you can go across the different channels and you can bring in even more contrast and different colors by doing similar types of S curves in here. Just be wary, sometimes it doesn't look as good until you've gone across each channel and just balance them out. You want to do very, very subtle movements with this and not necessarily go over the top. Little goes a long way with here, but it's an extra way where you can bring some more contrast into your image. But you can go crazy with this and do all sorts of things, including lifting this at the bottom to just remove and fade out some of the image if you want to. Similarly, you can come up to the basic edit panel and you can do things with the blacks and the whites, highlights and shadows here, and get same sort of effects. Whereas as you pull these to the side, you are also affecting at the top. You see in that histogram, you're pushing the information to the left and the right, which will add contrast. So that's your tip number 3. Don't reach straight for the global contrast slider and increase that. Try to make it the last thing you need to do if you just need to boost it in your image. Use the tone curve and experiment with that, and try it with lots of different scenarios and photos, and really get used to the power that it can have. And the 5th one is missing out masking completely. Masking is an area where as a beginner you come in, use a lot of presets, the one-click side, and you think that looks great, I've put a preset over, but it still seems to be missing something when I put it against all these other Instagram shots from other photographers. And that's largely because they've spent a lot of time on masking, again, to enhance your composition. Masking is great because it allows you to make localized edits, as you saw earlier on with the clarity tool that I did. You can make localized edits anywhere in your piece, and you have a whole range of tools in which you can do this with. This is fantastic because it creates a depth, it creates atmosphere to your image, and it can help tell your image's story better as well. Take this photo here, if I come over to the masking, these are all the individual masks that I've applied to this one image. A lot of them are to control light and light paint, so they can be dodging and burning, creating vignettes, or even enhancing our subject, which in this case here is our road running through. If I turn all of my masks off, you'll see that this is the preset that I applied originally, and whilst it's a nice kind of moody forest vibe, it's rather flat to look at. Bringing in the masking helps to create that atmosphere and make it more interesting and just tell a better journey of the story. So do not leave out your masking. And if you want to learn more about masking, well, then you can check out some other videos on this channel, or you can grab down below a masterclass, which we'll go through Every single one of these tools tell you exactly what they're doing, how the sliders are affecting your image, just to help you make better editing decisions. If you like some of the presets you've seen me do on these edits as well, be sure to grab those down below as well. Again, we may view these as mistakes, but a lot of what I said, it is not rules, it's guidelines. There are times where you want to make these decisions, and that's great because you're intently breaking the rules. You're intently not following the guidelines that are set and trying something different. And that's where innovations in all of these sorts of edits come from. But if you're just starting out and you found yourself making some of these, let's say mistakes, but making some of these habits every time you're opening a photo, think about your editing mindset first. Remember to take a step back and ask yourself, what is the purpose of this photo? What is it that I'm trying to tell in this photo? Is there a story? Is there a feeling I want to convey? All of these things will help you to sit back and create a good composition that's going to resonate with your viewers and get your feelings across to them as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.